Hey, my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to another episode of Fiona's Coffee Talks. And as always, I like to start off every day with a fresh, hot, black cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. And of course, I think of my favorite quote of the century by Oscar Wilde, which says, "Life is too important to be taken seriously, so let's lighten up, folks." All right, so today's topic is, drumroll please, well, it is April 1st. So it's not necessarily April Fool's Day, but April 1st, 1993 was a pivotal day in my life because that was the day that I was diagnosed HIV positive. 29 years ago, Lord, I just turned 57 last year, listen to me, a couple of weeks ago. And prior to that, I was like, wow, I've been positive half my life. Now I could say more than half my life. So April 1st will always, be significant to me because of that fact alone. And that I guess I just wanted to share the fact that when I found out, I was with my best friend, Droopy. Hey, Drippy. And we were like en route to the gym. And at the time, like I had been tested in 1990 and was negative. And the interesting part was those 3 years in between, I was like, ultra safe. So it was like a little shocking when I got the diagnosis, but at the same time it wasn't, because I think back then it's like if you were a gay man in New York City, you just kind of assumed that you would be. And with my history, let's keep it real, honey, I ain't exactly the biggest saint on the planet. Although I've always said if being on my knees makes me religious, I should have been a saint. Hence the Fiona St. James. Anyway, I digress. So I found out I was with Droopy, and I remember those first 5 minutes, I was like, kind of like in shock. I cried for about 5 seconds. And then I said to him, I was like, you know what? Let's go to the gym. We were already en route to the gym anyway. And I said, I'm never ever going to shed another tear over this fact again. And knock on wood, 29 years later, I have been very fortunate that I've never really had anything wrong with me pertaining to my status. Which is kind of nuts because back then, it's like all of the friends that I had back then, like 95% of them unfortunately did pass away and didn't survive. And you all know my track record. I've had my fun and my share of like drinking and this and that. And, I was always careful and smart about things, but I have always let my hair down. So, I think to myself, well, how was I so fortunate that here it is 29 years later and I'm still around? And I think it has everything to do with the whole mind over matter way of thinking that I have. I've always been of the belief that if you put thoughts out there and if you think a certain way and if you want something to happen, you could almost will it to happen. So the fact that right off the bat, I said, this ain't going to kill me. I said, I will never shed another tear over this because this is not going to kill me. And I have always had that belief. My history with it is that like the first couple of years, I wasn't on any meds. And then like the protease inhibitors came out and my doctor was like, oh, you should go on them and blah, blah, blah. And I sort of was like, in my mind, thought I didn't need them. So, but, I went along with it and I with his thought and philosophy and against my own philosophy. And then so for the following, I don't know how many years, I was on medications, but then every like couple of years, 2-3 years, I would switch it up, even though they were working fine. But I'm of the school of thought that if you're on something for too long a period of time, that's not good either. So after 2-3 years, switch to something else. There's newer, better technology. And then that way, even though these pills are keeping you alive, any foreign substance that you're putting in your body after a while could be, I think, a little toxic. So it might be killing one thing or sustaining you, but it's adding wear and tear. So fast forward, it was like 7-8 years later, and I was like, oh, I don't think I should be on drugs anymore. Well, HIV drugs. So, and at that point, there was that whole thing of like the interruption holiday, drug interruption holiday, where people would like get off it for a little while and see how they did. And I know a lot of my friends tried it and it didn't necessarily work in their favor. what was interesting with me was I was off the meds for like literally like a solid 7, 8 years, and I remained undetectable. I never, like my numbers never changed, which then made me think, well, you know what? I was right all along. But then the interesting part was fast forward 7 years later when I was turning 50, then I was like, girl, I'm a little old in the tooth, long in the tooth, I should say. And then my philosophy was, even though I was keeping the virus at bay, I thought my body is working that much harder to keep it at bay. So then I thought, let me get back on drugs. And again, not because I wasn't doing well with it, but my mindset changed. So then I remember I was on like Truvada and Icentris, I think. And now I've been on Biktarvy for a couple of years. And, you know, one pill once a day. And knock on wood, I've also been fortunate that any combination of HIV meds that I've been on, I've never had any real side effects, you know, because you hear about that as well. So I think in my case, it's a combination of like my mindset, and I like to think I have good karma because I don't think I'm a bad person. So just be kind and nice, and then, you know, you should be able to get what you want. And I've always spoken about like willing things to happen. So part of that could be willing that you stay in good health. And plus, like, I look at myself and I'm like, Lord, I'm 57. And like in my mind, I kind of feel like I'm never going to get old and I'm never going to like go anywhere. And somehow, maybe I think I'm Peter Pan, I don't know, or Superman or Wonder Woman. That's probably more accurate. So I don't know. I guess the whole moral of this video is that I'm here. I don't plan on going anywhere. And it's just that I think you can even will yourself to be healthy. It's so the mind is a very powerful tool, and I think a lot of people lose sight on that. You know, I've said this before, you know, if you want something to happen, you not only have to think it, but you have to say the words out loud, because then the universe will hear and then give you what you want. Of course, you have to, you know, be kind and nice and have good karma, or not only give you what you want. I'm not even talking about physical things or making things happen, but it could even be something like you want to stay healthy. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So I'm sure I'm not the only person who has loved ones or friends who unfortunately are no longer with us. Obviously, it's not so terminal, and you don't necessarily hear stories about people dying of HIV anymore, although I'm sure that they still are. I'm fortunate for myself that I'm still here, and I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing. And, you know, in this day and age with like everything going on, the pandemic and dealing with my elderly parents and all of that, you know, sometimes life has a way of like throwing curveballs at you, and then it's a little harder to maintain that way of thinking and thinking that everything's gonna stay well, or like, you know, stay optimistic. It's been a little harder in the last couple of years for me personally, but I somehow am still managing. So anywho, that's my story, sticking to it. If you like what I have to say, give me a thumbs up. By all means, subscribe if you have not. Leave any comments if you have. You know, we should all just take care of one another, support one another, and do our best to stay healthy. Remember, guys, use your mind. You know, you can actually, I think, you can control a lot more of your life just by having the right mindset and actually saying the words out loud and letting the universe hear it. That's my story. Love you. Bye.